Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Beach FM 106.3, my great pleasure to welcome now to the program Caroline Sandford. A very good morning to you, Caroline.
Good morning to you, John.
Caroline has written a book called Love Your Career from the Start, Making Decisions About Your Future, a guide for young adults. Caroline, this is beautifully timed, isn't it?
Yes, well, you know, I think it's a very tough situation for a lot of people. So beautifully timed is probably, you know, it's a hard thing. It's definitely timely, I think.
It is timely, much better book.
Yes.
Because careers, I mean, that word career, even that one word has almost come into question because a career is not the thing these days. You seem to have to be very adaptable and move with the very changing times.
You absolutely do. Probably the way that I talk and my colleagues talk about career is being a whole of life thing. So careers are from your journey from, you know, day one, when you're in everything that you have along that journey. So your education, your hobbies. So stepping out of your career, for example, is not you're not really stepping out. It's just a part of that, of your journey as you go along. So it's really just one career, really.
I see, and it's your career. It's how you navigate life, really, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And I think, you know, probably my big message in my book is all about understanding what you need, understanding what's important to you, your interest. You know, where do you thrive? What are the things that you need around you to make it work for you, as opposed to you know, other people's opinions.
And is this what you do professionally, Caroline? Are you a careers advisor in essence?
Yeah, I'm a career specialist, and I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, so I've seen many people.
And seen quite a few twists and turns. I must imagine that the last few months have seen some of those twists and turns, and for example, young people thinking of a career in tourism, which this time last year would have been the thing, I should imagine, and maybe not so much now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's just it's a demonstration. It's been very quick and fast, but a demonstration of how the world works is that it's unpredictable. We have to be prepared, on our toes, engaged with what's going on out there, so that we can navigate us, you know, effectively as change happens. Because life is full of sideswipes, I suppose, things that you don't see coming, and you have to reinvent yourself or pivot from where you actually thought you were going to be.
So I guess it's pretty important to understand who you are and where you want to go. And for a young person, that's not easy, is it?
Well, it's probably a conversation and, you know, a process I think is really important to have as soon as possible. So if you start to understand, you know, young people are still getting to know themselves and still developing that part, but they are also, you know, they have a value system, for example, that has been instilled in them, the way they've been brought up by their parents, you know, and really coming to understand that's important to know and to really bring to the consciousness to their so that they can actually look at, am I engaged, am I enjoyed in what I'm doing, or am I just doing it because I'm actually quite good at it but I don't really like it. So it's really bringing those things to the core of decision making, and if we can get our young people to start thinking like that, then they're prepared no matter what happens for looking, you know, the things that happen in life, and they have to re-evaluate. Coming back to that will help them to make good decisions for their future.
And how soon should they begin to make those decisions?
Well, if you think about when you're at school, I mean, this book is, you know, I've said it's for 15 to 25-year-olds, but we have, you know, as soon as you start choosing your subjects for school, you're taking a direction. So, you know, so it's really being aware of those things as soon as you can is very important.
And choosing those subjects is a very, very good point. You are beginning to cast the die. Should you begin to, quite early on, in a very cold and calculated way, work out which of the subjects is going to aid you in getting you to where you want to go, or simply just go with what you like doing?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think it's really important to come back to what you enjoy. That has to be at the core, but also it's really important to look at the reality of the world, and sort of seeing that, you know that whatever you're doing is going to take you to where you want to go. It's not going to take you off in a different tangent, but also, as we have seen really recently, the world changes quickly. So people were taking particular subjects with the idea they were going towards a particular pathway, and that has changed for some people quite significantly. So again, adaptability, flexibility, resilience has to be in there as well.
So what if you choose something that doesn't even exist in 5 or 10 years' time?
Well, I think that's the reality that we're facing. So it's being very cognizant of actually the world out there. It's not burying your head in the sand and not knowing, technology. But it's also coming back to, the ensuring that you're also developing those employability skills, your ability to be able to, as I said before, be flexible and adapt as the needs change, because they are going to continually change. And I think our youth are facing changes faster than we have ever seen in the past. So
I certainly do not envy the young people, the prospects ahead of them, because it is changing so quickly. And one example is apprenticeships, which have come roaring back because of the initiative of the government in the last few weeks. I would imagine that has become a much more attractive option for some people. You could quite reasonably weigh up university versus an apprenticeship right now, because there are pros and cons in both approaches, aren't there?
Absolutely, and I think, in my ideal world, I'd want them to both be on the table always, not to be one more attractive just because it has funding at this particular time, even though that's going to make it, a reality for some people to be able to go down a path. But it's also important, to really come back again. I'm not taking it just because of that. What's the reality here? If I'm going to be doing an electrical trade or plumbing or whatever it may be, is that something I'm going to enjoy? How do I find out? And that's where, through my book, I go through that process of actually how do you actually explore the options that you're considering to figure out whether they're right for you.
Now, Caroline, many of the people listening to this are parents or grandparents. How much should they get involved in this process, or should they just stay out?
I think it's like a journey together. Again, my message, I have at the very front of my book on, just some notes for parents to think that this is their child or their grandchild's journey. It's to walk alongside them, but it is their journey, and to just allow that process, to expose them to the world of possibilities as much as possible. It's their own journey, that the jobs that they've undertaken, their friends have undertaken. If their kids can see that reality, it opens the world up and their eyes up to how things work out there. And so that helps them to figure out whether they would like it or not, or what other possibilities could be there that I had never actually thought about. It's also important when kids come home and they're saying, they want to be this, or they're going down that pathway, to keep an open mind. So you're there to help them to really think about their options. They're just trying things out to see whether they fit. What do they know about it? How can they find out more? So it's really that in partnership, walking alongside them to support them. I think that's the role that parents and grandparents I would encourage. And it allows that open conversation as well. As soon as there's a judgment or a criticism or an opinion against a particular choice, the danger is that the child may close down and not share with them.
Yes.
So you want to keep that relationship open and trusting.
Indeed. Things change, and when you arrive somewhere, maybe it's not where you thought you thought what it was going to be, and you've
right.
changed your mind, and I think we've all been there. What if you choose something you don't like, that the rose glass view did not work out, and you think, oh my gosh, here I am, mid-20s, mid-30s, mid-40s, and I hate what I'm doing, I've got to escape. What do you do then?
and I certainly see a lot of those clients, and it's really helping them to, come back to the same thinking of, let's go back and understand what it is that you want. What is important to you? What are your interests? What are your personality preferences? Where are you your best? Where are the options that will fit this? Let's go and find out the reality. And to stop that, going down that pathway of making choices that aren't right and ending up in places that you're unhappy or it doesn't suit who you are, that reality testing is hugely important. So to actually, if I want to, I'm really interested in being a teacher. We've all been taught by teachers in the past, but I need to go and spend time in a classroom. I need to actually see the reality. I need to ask questions of the teacher, what they do behind the scenes, so I get a really good idea of what a teacher is like. And maybe I need to do that with several different teachers, so I get different viewpoints. So it's that reality testing is hugely important to help people to go down a track that, if they get as much information as they possibly can before they do that, then they're likely to make better choices for themselves.
And last question, Caroline, very simple one. How much of a crystal glass have you got? Is there any future in any of this? I know there's a lot of people worried about the future of work. Of course, we've got the gig economy now, which in essence means people are on short contracts much of the time. We've had this amazing experience during the lockdown with so many people working from home, working in completely different ways. Some love it, some don't. The whole thing's changing. How on earth can we make decisions when the sand is shifting so rapidly?
Yes, well, I think what you've said is very true, John. That the times are changing very rapidly, and we can't predict the future. That is just a given. However, we can still make good decisions for ourselves about what needs to be in that. So I think the COVID-19 and working from home and has opened up some possibilities of different ways of thinking. And I always think the creative industries is a really good example of how they've done it for years. They're on short-term contracts. They may have several income streams from different places. They're used to that type of environment. There'll be times when they're not working, but there's times when they'll, be able to do something they love, maybe funded by something they don't love a lot, but it's not a huge part, but it brings in that steady income. And
that's okay, isn't it, by the way?
Yes,
that's okay if you've got an aim.
Yes, it is, but I think it's also we have to be creative. Yes. We have to look at the world and think, how can I make this work for me? What is it that I need to do to be able to pull it together so it works for me, as opposed to just doing, what I've known in the past that wasn't necessarily working or may not work now.
Caroline, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for your time. I believe Love Your Career from the Start has just been published. I think it came out in the 1st of July. And it is an invaluable guide for young adults to help make career decisions. And I imagine some older adults as well. It's a beauty. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a great pleasure. Caroline Sandford.
Thank you very much, John.
106.3 Beach FM.